Okay, this month we're going to be doing an exploration, and for the exploration you'll need a tool, and this one is called Geogebra. It's a free program you can download from the internet, or you can even run it from the internet. To get it, you go to geogebra.org, and let's do that right now. There's geogebra.org, and it looks like this. Click where it says download. Now this gives you the option for a web start, which means it'll actually launch it each time you run the program. It'll launch it from the internet, and then it'll run on your computer, but the startup is from the internet. The advantage of doing it this way is that you're always running the latest version, and you don't have to actually install anything on your own computer. That's something you might want to do if you're using a borrowed computer. Over here it says offline installers, and if you want to actually download and install it so you have access to it at any time, whether you have internet going or not, you want to do that. And if you choose to use the offline installer, notice you have options for Windows, Mac, Linux, etc. So that's how you get Geogebra. Once you have it, up here at the top there's some menus. Each of these have a pull down. Like for instance, under View, it says Axes, Grid, Algebra, Spreadsheet, and so forth. One of the things we want is to have the axes checked and the grid. If I uncheck the grid, notice the little squares go away. We want to have those little squares showing. Make sure you have the Algebra view checked and the Graphics view checked. You can have these others unchecked if you want. But show the axes, the grid, the Algebra, and the Graphics view. Okay. That'll give you what you're seeing right here. Explore these other menu items up here. There's tools of various kind, various options, perspectives, and so forth. So there's a whole lot of things you can do, but at least get the feel of it, and get to know what some of the basics are. Over here, if you want to take a point and just sort of plot a point somewhere, notice what happens. I have a point like point A. Over here is the coordinates for point A. And if I click the arrow to drag things around, if I move point A to some other place, like right here on this coordinate grid, A now says 2, 5. If you know about graphing already, look where we are. Here's over 2 and up 5. And so that tells you how you can locate points on a two-dimensional surface. So if you're not familiar with graphing even at the beginning, start by clicking a point and try to predict for yourself what the numbers are going to be once you get there. Like for instance, if I click this point right here, let's go to points. If I were to click this point right here, what would it be? Check it out, look at it. Notice it's over 2 to the left, and so it says -2, and it's up 4. So if I click right here, it'll either have a -2 and a 4. Which order is it going to be? Well, notice it's -2, that comes first, and then 4. So it's the horizontal direction comes first, and the vertical direction comes second. That's the same for all of these. So play with points and get so that you're comfortable with the representation of points and where they actually show up on the graph as a result. Okay? If you select this and span over things like this, you can hit delete and they'll disappear. Or, by the way, if you had various objects here, I could scan over them here. I click the top one, hit shift and the bottom one, and notice that it highlighted them all over here as well. And that's another way to select them and then delete them. Let's draw a few things over here just so that we can practice using the display. Let's try a line. So if I click and click, I have a line. If I say array, and notice every time I click a tool, it tells me how to use the tool right here. It says ray through 2 points. Select the starting point, then any point then the point on the ray. So if I click this will be my starting point, and then say this is my ending point. And the ray goes from here through there and keeps going. After you've drawn something, you can select the points and move them. So these are movable graphics. If I select this point, for instance, for this line or this point, it'll tip the line, but if I choose the line itself, it'll move itself so that it won't, so it'll stay parallel. Okay. Let's look at this tool. Notice when I click the tool, it says select the point and the perpendicular line. So let's put a point here, and then I'll hit the perpendicular line. So I'll select the point and then this line, and there we have it. Okay. Notice if I move this point around, the perpendicular moves. Notice that if I change the slope of the line, it stays perpendicular. I could also choose a point on the line. So if I select point B and the same line, then it constructs a perpendicular at point B. Okay. If you pull this down, you can get parallel lines. Here, let's relieve some of the clutter. Let's take all these things off. Let's put a line up there. Here's a line. Okay. Now, say I want to draw a line parallel to it through this point. Okay. I go to parallel lines, and it says select point and parallel line. So I'm going to select that point and this line, and that line stays parallel. So even if I move this line around, the other line will be parallel to it. Or if I move this point, it'll stay parallel. Okay. And there's various options here. Perpendicular bisector. So for instance, if I have 2 points like that, and if I choose the perpendicular bisector, it says select 2 points or 1 segment. So I'm going to select point and point. This is the line that's going to go halfway between them. And notice that no matter where I move the points, it's a perpendicular line. It's perpendicular to the line segment that contains them, and it passes through the midpoint here. That's what a perpendicular bisector is. So there's lots of these things that, if you've had some geometry, you might be familiar with the terms. If you haven't, it's easy enough to get an introduction to it without having the formal definitions even. Okay. This one has other options as well. Try doing an angle bisector. Try doing tangents to a circle. Here's a circle tool. There's a bunch of different ways to do circles and arcs. So let's just do a simple circle here. Here, let's erase some clutter. Let's keep doing that occasionally. And then if I go to the circle tool, I click a point for the center, and I click for a point that'll be on the circle. And let's take a point out here. And back here I saw something that said tangents, right? And so it says select the point or line, then the circle. Alright? And there are the 2 tangent lines from that point to the circle. Tangent lines are lines that touch the circle at only one point, like here. They don't cut through the circle. They just touch and then continue on the outside. Notice if I bring the point inside, there are no tangents. Bring it back outside, the tangents reappear. Sort of cool. Okay. All of these things you see talked about in geometry, but you can actually play with them. If I change the size of the circle, there's the tangent line. The tangent lines stay. Okay. Let's clear the boards again. Here is polygons. If I choose this one, I can draw any kind of polygon I like, even if it cuts in and back and so forth. When I get back to the original, there it is. Over here on the algebra view, it says poly 1, and it has a number, and the number is the area. And you can verify that if you do a shape that's simple enough that you can figure out the area. Let's just make this into a rectangle just by sliding some of these points into alignment here. Okay, and so this rectangle is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 long and 4 wide. 4 times 7 is 28, and there it says 28. Okay, but even if it's a very odd shape, it's still going to be able to figure out the area. And if you did the last month's lesson, you could figure out the area too. We talked about how does the program figure out this kind of an area, or how could you do it if you knew the coordinates of those points? If you just saw this list of points here, how would you find the area? We're not going to do that this month, but go back to last month's lesson and try it from there. Okay. Another thing you can do with this polygon tool, this is just the general intro to all these little tools, is a regular polygon. So if I say boom, boom, and then tell it how many sides, like let's do 5 sides. Here, that says 45. Let's do 5 sides. There's a 5-sided polygon, which is also known as a pentagon. As I change it around, it'll keep 5 sides and it'll stay regular. To be regular, it has to have equal sides and equal angles. Okay. And there's various other options. Let's go to the circle. We talked about doing regular circles. You can do circular arcs. This one would be a semicircle. That's like a half circle between 2 points. You can do a circle through 3 points. Let's try that one. Let's just choose 3 points here. Boom, boom, and boom. What circle would fit through those 3 points? Well, if I go down here to circle through 3 points, and it says select the 3 points, let's select this one, and this one, and there we are. And if we change the points, it'll change the circle so that it always goes through those 3 points. Okay. This is for doing ellipses and hyperbolas and parabolas. That's a little bit more advanced, but if you're in Algebra 2, there are some things here that you might like to play with. This is some angles and distance measures and areas and slopes and so forth. This one's transformations like reflections, rotations, translations, and dilations. Okay. Here you could insert text, or insert an image, or draw right on the screen. I had trouble, by the way, drawing with the pen and then trying to delete it. I'm not sure if that's a bug in the current version, and it might be fixed by the time you see it, or if there's just the way I was doing it. There is an eraser somewhere you can use that might handle it. All right. Sliders are very significant. Let's just do a use of a slider so you get the idea. If I come over here and take off my items, if I click on the slider tool and just pop it in here, notice it gives it a name. In this case it says A, and it's going to be a number, and it's going to go from -5 to 5 with increments of 0.1. So just hit apply, and there it is. If I treat my little selection tool, I can move this back and forth. Okay. Now, let's try using this for something. I'm going to go to my circle tool, and if I come down to where it says circle with center and radius, and it says circle with center and radius. So if I choose a center point, and for the radius, I'm going to type A. And there it is. Now watch. If I move A, it changes the size of the circle. Notice since A can go negative, it might disappear entirely, or any positive number. So if I just wanted this to be a radius of a circle, I might right click on it, go to Object Properties, and let's change it from, say, 0. You can make this bigger if you like, 0 to 10. Okay. So now I can position this to any size I want, all the way down to 0 or whatever. Okay. So sliders are going to be very useful for lots of things. If I want to, what's that? Okay. If I want to add some text, I can go to this and insert text. And I say, this is text, and say OK. I could put symbols and various other things. There's lots of options you can do. If I right click and go to Object Properties, I could go to Text and change the font. Instead of small, I could make it large or medium. Okay, and change what you're looking at. I can insert pictures right here, and so forth. Okay, that's enough for now. What your task is for the first part of this is to download GeoGebra, bring up your algebra and your graphics views, and experiment around till you feel reasonably comfortable with this tool. And once you do, come back and try the next set of activities.